Hi, my name is SaiqaKhan, and I am a mother, wife, and surgeon, and this is part 2 of my series on rapid empowered transformation and my signature 5-step framework for how you can rapidly transform your life, any situation that you might find yourself in, micro and macro level. So I will link in the description down below the prior YouTube video where I kind of introduced this framework and gave an overview. In today's video, we are focusing on the first step, which is surrendering. So just to review again, the 5 steps are: number 1, to surrender; number 2, to change your beliefs; number 3, attune; number 4, transform; and number 5, evolve. So to go back to step number 1, so basically whenever you find yourself in an unexpected or challenging or an undesirable situation, whether it's externally or feelings within internally, the first step is to surrender. So that means don't fight it, don't fight the reality, and surrender to everything that you're feeling. Surrender to the situation fully and feel the feelings of denial or grief or sadness or disappointment or anger, and then surrender to everything that's going on. And when you surrender and you stop fighting and you stop feeling the anger because you've felt it, you've processed it, you've moved through it, then your mental space and your brain space can open up into starting to not only digest what's going on, but to start to think outside of the box and outside of your current mental state. So it helps you, when you surrender, it helps you shift your state from one of feeling a victim, like everything is happening to you, like this situation has happened to you, to shifting out of that state into seeing how you can be empowered, you can empower yourself, and you can identify beliefs, which moves into step number 2. Identify beliefs and remind yourself of the evidence for why you should have empowered beliefs, and remind yourself of your capabilities and your resourcefulness. And so the surrendering is the first step to get to that stage where you can shift your state and think a little bit differently, think a little bit more creatively and resourcefully. And so how I came up with all of this framework is through our journey in navigating our special needs world, because we were pregnant with my daughter Remy, and we thought that everything was completely normal, that she was a perfect, healthy, normal, neurotypical child. And then to our surprise, when she was born, it was like a Pandora's box of endless discoveries. And it was very challenging and scary, and I had a lot of anger and fear and grief and disappointment, and I had to accept the new reality. I couldn't really wrap my brain around what life was going to look like having a child with all of these special medical conditions and all of the unknowns and all of the uncertainty. And I wanted so desperately to hold on to my dreams and my vision of myself in my career, the trajectory that I had imagined for my career and my professional life. And there was certainly no room for deviation from that in my, prior frame of thinking, in my prior mindset. And so once I surrendered to the new life that was thrown our direction, what I realized was that my life didn't end when I was gifted a child with a very rare genetic syndrome. Instead, a new life began. And I surrendered to the to the new life that was beginning. I surrendered to the new conditions. I surrendered to the new reality. And I surrendered to the fact that I had very little control and very little certainty of what the outcomes were going to be. I wanted control. I wanted certainty that my daughter would walk at a certain age, talk at a certain age, eat at a certain age, do all these different things at a certain age. And there is absolutely no certainty and no control over those outcomes. And so what I learned is through surrendering to that lack of control and uncertainty, and through surrendering to the reality of her global developmental delay, her vision impairment, her prior breathing issues, through surrendering to all of that, I was able to then surrender to the uncertainty. So I was able to then create more space for creativity, for magic to happen, for unknowns. And I was no longer resistant to that lack of control. Instead, I saw it as a positive. I saw the need for the adaptability and the flexibility of my mindset, of my vision for the future, of the support structures that I had in place for myself, for my career, for my family. I saw all of these new potentials and possibilities because I finally surrendered to the new life that we were embarking on, to the new journey that we were committing ourselves to. And so once you make the decision to take on the challenge that you're being faced with and to surrender to the changes that are happening, then new windows of opportunity, new possibilities, new concepts, new mindsets, new thought, new ways of thinking, it just naturally develops. And so this is where this whole framework came from. And it is so powerful, and it has helped me time and time again on the macro level in terms of with my daughter and supporting her with her development, supporting her with her medical conditions, on the macro in terms of my marriage, my family structure, my family dynamic, and also the micro, my inner feelings. So I'm saying macro and micro as like bigger picture and smaller picture. Although, you know, feelings aren't necessarily micro, they can be macro too, especially when you think about the downstream sequelae of certain feelings. But I'm talking about like internally and externally. So this framework is applicable internally, externally. You can even apply it retroactively to past events. You can apply it into the future. Think about things in the future, as I have done. Visualization, mental rehearsal. These are all things that we're going to get to in the subsequent parts of this series, specifically in step number 3, which is attunement. So that basically summarizes step number 1, surrendering. And in the subsequent videos, we will tackle each step, and I will do a dedicated video in detail for each of the 5 steps for the framework. And I'm also calling these 5 steps the 5 steps to freedom, because once you apply these steps and you truly master the application in your life of this framework, internally and externally, it does create a sense of liberation, a sense of freedom, because then you're able to tap into your internal power, and you're able to tap into ideas and creativity and resources that you're otherwise blocking yourself off to. So you're expanding your awareness. And especially with the 5th step, you know, it's a positive feedback loop. So you're building and building and building and building. So this is why, you know, it's been so beneficial and powerful in my life that I feel so obligated and compelled to share it with people, especially other mothers who might be facing similar challenges and surprises in their parenting journey, in their motherhood journey. But yeah, it's applicable to any scenario or situation. Okay, feel free to email me with any questions, and you can feel free to leave any comments. And I've also formed like a PDF worksheet guide, you know, as like a little checklist of all the 5 steps. If you want it, I can email it to you as well. Okay, thanks.